Well, it's yet another bright sunny day, very warm in greenhouse. I've took another harvest of these peas. I did a bit more research on this particular variety that we're growing, Monge 2, and you don't need to wait until pods swell at all. When they're like this and the peas are just showing, that's when you pick them. Especially if you're using them for what I'm using them for, which will be stir frying. And I've got a little recipe for stir fried Monge 2. Very quick and easy to do, and it makes a nice little side dish as well. So we've picked loads more of these today. And that's another example. You can virtually see through these. So that's when we're picking them. We have got fatter ones that are pods like that, and they've got little peas inside. If you let them grow on and then shell them, you get little peas out of them like that, and they're very sweet. They're basically like a petit pois. So you could grow them on and get little peas like that to harvest. You've got two choices with these particular ones, but today I've harvested a load, so I can do this stir fry recipe just based on those and nothing else. And I'll stick there on cooking channel so you can see exactly how I cook them to get a very quick tasty little snack. And if you're not part of the cooking channel and you'd like to see what we do with all this produce as we harvest it, there's a link in description. So click on that, go to the channel and hit subscribe there as well. So every time we put a new video on there showing you what we do with his own grown produce, you'll get a notification. So that's that bit done for today. We'll sort these out a little bit later. We had a couple more donators to this channel yesterday, and I really appreciate the generosity of people that do that. It really does help towards costs and materials that we need when we're making these videos. The compost, the seeds, the trays and pots. Every little bit goes back into this channel. So thank you very much, Brenda Gibbons and Edwina Maddock. Very kind, very generous and very much appreciated. But what I'm concentrating on today is all these tomato plants again, because as somebody did comment a couple of days ago, it's probably time to start checking for all these little side shoots, because they'll never stop coming. And if you don't keep taking them off, you're going to end up with a big mass of tomato plant that's more green than tomato, and that's not the reason we're growing them. And the ones I've got in ground at the moment, in various greenhouses and outside, have really started to shoot up. So we've got to keep things like that in check. So as you can see, really big plants. They're over 2 feet tall now. Surprising how fast things grow when that weather picks up. But if you don't keep your eye on these plants, you're going to get that happening. A really long side shoot that we missed. We need to take those off. They'll just break off quite easily. And then you're left with that. If you put that in a pot as it is and bury it down to about there, that will grow into a new tomato plant of its own. Just in case you're short a couple of plants this year. But we're alright, so we just need to catch them when they're like that. Tiny little things. Get rid. And again, if you look right at the bottom of that plant, there's another one that we missed. So we'll take that off. Also, at the same time as these plants are growing, they're going to start and get top heavy. So we need to tie them up. We need to just fix them to that cane, but only do it very loosely. You don't want to cut into this stem and cause damage. And I just use these little twist wrap things. They come on a roll. We get them from Poundland, and then we just cut them to size. Because then we can just take this plant, pop it up like that, and then we'll just twist this. But we're twisting it and leaving a loop at the same time. It's only to hold that plant stable, so we need a nice gap. And then as this plant grows, that stem's going to get thicker, and if it's not got enough slack on this loop, eventually it's going to start cutting into the stem. So just do them like that, and then your plant's going to be fine. We've also got some garlic that's ready as well. Again, some we've grown. This one's got quite a thick stem on it. It will push over if you force it, but you're better off waiting until it does it by itself. But we've got some nice little cloves of garlic in there. And then we've got this one, and this one's already gone over. So that's all ready now to start and take an harvest from. So I'll just take all this off the outside, that paper covering, and try and break one open. Have a look what we've got. Basically when they're cleaned up, that's what you end up with. You can just pop that in the fridge. So I'll take one out. It's a nice little clove of garlic. That garlic takes a long time to grow, but when you start getting your homegrown produce from it, it's brilliant. Garlic stores for a long time, and we've got about 4 of those that we've been drying out under shelter, and now they're ready to go. And what's especially good about this is we need some garlic for that Monge 2 recipe. So we've got everything we need straight from garden once again. But we probably need to take a look down at the other greenhouse and at the tomato plants outside as well, because if these are putting outside shoots, everything's putting outside shoots, and we've definitely got to keep on top of that. And as we've just done, keep a check on how high these tomato plants are growing, because if you've not tied them up already and you get a bit of wind, it's going to knock them plants over. It's going to kink that stem, and it won't kill your plant, but it could set it back a little bit, or even force it to drop flowers because it's under stress. So let's go and see what's happening in other greenhouse. Well, everything's doing all right in this pepper greenhouse. Plants are looking perfectly fine. This cucumber has now put loads more size on from last time you saw it. We've got flowers, we've got little cucumbers trying to grow, as you can probably see there. But again, we need to tie it up. We don't want it growing across ground, because your fruit's going to end up rotting if it gets too damp. So we just tie it up like we do tomato plants to these canes, and we'll keep going until we get to the top, and then all this fruit is going to be hanging down, so it's very easy to pick and less susceptible to damage. But this plant has come on quite a lot over the last week alone, so I'm really pleased with that. And that pepper in particular has really started to put some size on there as well. And if you look closely, that one has already got a flower on it. Same thing's happening with all these potato plants now. They're all starting to come into flower. And flowering potato plants means that it's now starting to grow potatoes. And someone did ask about these yesterday. So if you're doing first and second earlies and they flower, wait till all them flowers have died back before you take an harvest, because that's the sign of your potato starting to grow. If you remember, they're the smallest tomato plants that we put in only a couple of weeks ago. And I've got a couple more wash bowls which we've sown some more seeds in, and that one is another bowl of those pickling onions. We're going to do quite a few of those. I'll just stagger them every couple of weeks and probably do 2 more at a time. So by end of year we should have a really good supply of homemade pickled onions. So once again, these plants, they're getting to the point where they need tying up. Just as we did before, a bit of string or whatever you've got, very loosely tied around there to protect that plant. And we've also got side shoots there, so just pinch them off. Make sure you check at the bottoms of your plant as well. You can see we've got another one just there. They come off so easily. But another thing that you want to be doing is when they get to a certain height, start taking these bottom branches off. Again, they'll break off really easily, even that one there. Snap it off, leave yourself some very clear ground underneath. And water is not going to splash all over these leaves as you're watering these plants, because you don't want to top watering your tomato plants, you want to water at the bottom. And that's why we'll do this until we've got somewhere in the region of about 12 to 18 inch clearance with no branches. And that plant is now clean. all we need to do is secure it and move on to the next one. And we basically just keep doing that with every plant as we go through season. This one in his little basket looks like it needs a bit of water, and it's trying to grow little tomatoes as well. Not bad for a tomato plant in a 12-inch basket. They're the first ones we planted, and you can see that we've been tying these up as well, keeping on top of those side shoots, and then we'll pin that one as well because it's starting to fall to one side. Once again with these little green ties, very simple job. Just secure it to that plant, but do it loosely. Just hold it against that stem, twist that. It's secure, but it's nice and loose, with plenty of room for that stem to carry on thickening. And this plant is also pretty much clear. We have cleared the bottom to some degree, and they'll grow back at some point. But as you see them, just pinch them off. This branch at the back there, if you can see that, quite a big branch, but it's hanging on ground. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So as big as that branch is, it's got to go. There's also another side shoot. So that one, just to pull upwards, we get rid. It helps us with the weeding around the bottoms of these plants as well. But there is something even more interesting about these tomato plants. And I don't know if you've spotted it already, but if not, I'll show you. Right here. That's his first Italian plum tomato growing. There's a tiny one coming just there as well. If we go to the plant next to it, and this one has got 4 tomatoes growing on it. It's one of the most exciting things that you see early in season. Your first tomatoes growing on your plants. And especially these for me, because they're Italian plum tomatoes that I'll be using for the cooking channel. Really exciting to see that happening. But at the same time, once again, check the bottoms of your plants. Pinch off them side shoots. Keep that bottom clear, because if you don't keep them clear enough, these aren't going to get too much sun, and then they'll take longer to ripen. And obviously we're doing exactly the same thing with outdoor tomatoes. Keeping them tied up. Checking for these side shoots. And then we're guaranteed to have healthier, cleaner plants. And it's definitely salad picking time. We use quite a lot of salad when it's consistently warm. That's why we always make sure we've got plenty to go at. There you go. A little bit of maintenance goes a long way. Keeping those plants nice and tidy. Getting rid of all those little side shoots that will definitely cause you a bit of a nuisance later on in the year. But it's amazing to see that even though these plants aren't fully grown yet, we've already got those little Italian plum tomatoes growing. And that is what makes your day. You can see you've got something coming, and you know there's a lot more to come. Over this weekend, start checking all your plants. Get rid of those side shoots. Check the bottoms of your plants and take off any branches that aren't needed anymore. And more importantly, any branches that are actually touching ground. You're going to create better airflow beneath your plants. And that's going to keep them healthy. Well-maintained plants are healthy plants that give you better harvests. And you'll also come across less problems throughout season. I'm going to take these in now, give them a quick wash, and we'll put together some quick, tasty, stir-fried mange too. And if you want to see what we do, don't forget there's a link in the description to that cooking channel. Anyway, stay hydrated over this coming weekend, and I hope all your plants are already starting to show you signs of a little harvest to come. Take care.